Linda, the reading fairy. Backwards books. I love the smell of libraries, don't you? Said Kirsty Tate. She took a deep breath and looked around at the bookshelf of the Templeton School Library. Her best friend Rachel Walker smiled at her. I love having you here at school with me, she said. I wish it was for longer than a week. It was only the third day of the new school year, and it was already turned into the most fun and exciting time at school that Rachel had ever knew. She had lots of friends at Templeton School, but none of them had as special as Kirsty. She had often wished that she could go to the same school. Then Kirsty's school had been flooded, and the repairs were going to take a week. So, for 5 happy days, the best friends were at school together at last. It's turning into quite a week, though, Kirsty replied with a grin. Rachel knew that Kirsty was talking about an extraordinary secret they shared from the time they had met on Rainspell Island. They had been friends for fairyland, even though they had often had magical creatures adventures since then. It was always thrilling to meet brand new fairy friends, and on the first day of school year, they had been introduced to the school fairy friends. I wonder if we'll see any of the school days fairies today, said Kirsty whispered. Before Rachel could reply, her teacher clapped his hand to get everyone's attention. I want each of you to choose a book to read, said Mr. Beaker. Then write a few sentences about what you think of the book. All the book reports will be included in the display for the school superintendent visit. What kind of book should we choose? Asked Adam. Try to pick something that you think will transport you to another world, said Mr. Beaker. I love reading, and the best books are the ones where the story comes to life. The people should seem as real to you as your best friends. The children started to wander around the library, browsing the bookshelf. Be brave in your book choice, Mr. Beaker went on. It must be exciting to pick something that you wouldn't normally read. Surprise yourself. There was a loud crash, and Amina and Ellie jumped back from the shelves they had been browsing. 3 heavy books had almost landed on top of them. Please be careful, said Mr. Beaker. But they just fell on the shelf, cried Ellie. We didn't touch them. Mr. Beaker, this book is stuck shut, said Adam, who was trying to look at the mystery story. I can't open it. Rachel had just chosen a book called The Princess in the Tower, but when she opened it, none of the sentence made sense. She blinked a few times, wondering if her eyes was playing tricks on her. There was definitely very strange about the book. Everything is backwards, she whispered to Kirsty. Listen to how the story begins. After ever happily lived Rose Princess, something bad has happened in here. The books are all wrong, and I bet I know why. Kirsty knew exactly what her friend was thinking. This was all happening because of Jack Frost's goblins. And the girls had Marisa, the science fairy, on the first day of school. She had whisked them away to fairyland. There was the other school day fairies had explained that Jack Frost had stolen their magical gold badges. Without them, lessons would be messed up and boring. Jack Frost had so much trouble. For the school day fairies, Christy said in a low voice, we're helped Marisa, we've helped Marisa the science fairy and Allison the art fairy get their badges back, but we have to find all four of them and make sure everything is perfect for the royal visit. Queen Titania and King Orban were planning to pay a visit to the fairies' school. The fairies wanted everything to be perfect for their beloved king and queen, but without their magical badges, the royal visit would be a disaster. Not only that, but school and human world would be ruined too. Jack Frost had used the magical badges to open the school for goblins, where he was teaching them all about himself. He thought it was the only object worth learning. But he had expelled two of his students for misbehaving. They had stolen the magical badges from him and taken them to the human world. Right now, those peaky goblins were in Templeton School. A shocking school visitor. The girls had soon realized that the two new boys in their class were not really boys at all. They are disguised as full Mr. Beaker, and the other children, but Kirsty and Rachel, were very good at recognizing the goblins. We should find the goblins and see what they are doing, Rachel whispered. Kirsty nodded. Mr. Beaker were watching them. He was too busy trying to open Adam's book. The girls made their ways toward the back of the library, where the lights were dim and at least borrowed books were kept. Not many students looked in this section, but now the girls could hear loud screeching voices. They looked at each other. Goblins, they said. Together they peered around a tall bookshelf and saw the two goblins sitting cross-legged on the floor. Each of them was holding a book and reading out loud. They didn't seem to care that the other ones weren't listening. Once upon a time, there was a grumpy troll who liked to eat a princess and a prince and a princess, read the first goblin in a loud voice. But there were enough princes and princesses to fill them up. So she decided to go on a trip with her best friend, a handsome goblin. Millie, Tilly, and Jilly were sisters, read the second goblin in an equally loud voice. They were human beings, and so, of course, they were annoying and ugly. One day, the happily little goblin were stealing some apples from the little silly sisters and tried to stop them. They were just the sound of their own voices, don't they? Said Rachel. Yes, said Christy, with a frown in its sound as though stories had been changed. They don't sound right at all. Just then they heard footsteps behind them, and they whirled around. Mr. Beaker was coming their way. When he saw the girls and heard their voices, he stopped. Rachel and Kirsty thought that he might scold the goblin, but he just smiled. I'm glad to hear someone in the class is enjoying their books, he said. I don't know what's gone wrong, but reading doesn't seem much fun today. Do you want us to ask them to talk more quietly? Kirsty asked. Mr. Beaker shook his head. It's nice to hear that they are so enthusiastic. he said. I don't mind the noise. As they walked away, the girls exchanged a surprised glance. I guess the main thing is that they're not causing any trouble, said Rachel, for now. Look at the books over here, said Kirsty. She pointed to the bookshelf in the corner. One of the shelves seemed to gleam with a faint light, and girls hurried toward it. The light must be coming from one of those books, said on the shelf, said Rachel. It looks like a fairy glow. They searched the book or the shelves until they found one that was shimmering with a golden light. This must be the one, said Rachel, taking it down from a shelf. She opened it, and out came Linda the reading fairy. Her black hair was tied into a thick side braid, and she was wearing a flowery short with a pink sweater. Hello, Rachel. Hello, Kirsty, said Linda. Queen Titan told me that you were in the library, and I thought it was perfect moment to ask for your help. So you still haven't found your magical gold star badge? Kirsty asked. Linda shook her head. I'm sure it must be around somewhere, she said. Will you please help me find it? World. Children all over the world had stopped enjoying reading, all because of those terrible goblins. Of course we'll help, said Rachel. Linda, the goblins are here in the library right now, and no one is watching us. Should we go ask them to give your badge back? Linda nodded. I'm a little afraid of Jack Frost, but I'm scared of goblins, she said. Let's go talk to them right now. She hid in Kirsty's pocket, and then the girls walked back to the tall bookshelf where the goblins were reading. But before they got there, Kirsty grabbed Rachel's arm. Look, she whispered, between those books. It gasped. She took some books off the shelf. The girls could see an ice blue robe and a mortarboard hat. Holding their breath, they tiptoed up to the shelf and peeked through the gap. Then they stared at each other in shock. They couldn't believe their eyes. Jack Frost was in their school.